The topic for today is data collection methods and tools. We are going to discuss what is data collection, what are important methods of data collection, and what are the tools of data collection. Data collection is the process of gathering required information by primary or secondary methods and the managing the data in the right format. So we can use primary methods, that means we can collect the data by our own, or we can use the secondary methods, means we can use the data collected by some other persons and manage the data in our format. There are various reasons for collecting data, like integrity of the research or business. So we can use the quantitative methods or the qualitative methods to ensure that the integrity of the business question or research for which we are collecting the data is maintained. Data collection, when we using the proper methods, is reduce the likelihood of errors. And when there are minimum errors, naturally the decision making is going to be better. So data collection helps us taking good decisions. Data collection saves the analyst times and funds. So less of time with minimum of funds, the data analyst can get the right data, and we can use the data methods to know, is this idea going to help the organization or not? So it supports the need for new idea, change or innovation required in the business organization. There are two methods of data collection. One is primary method of data collection and second one is secondary. Primary data collection by definition means that we are going to collect the data by our own. It is a process of collecting the original data collected by the analyst or the associated team for a specific purpose. And it could be further analyzed as qualitative and qualitative data collection. The qualitative research method does not involve the collection of data that involves numbers. That means no data in numbers, no data in quantifiable numbers are there in case of qualitative. Rather, it is based on the non-quantifiable elements like the feelings or emotions. So, an example of such a method is open-ended questionnaire, where we can put the question like, what are your opinions? The quantitative methods are presented in numbers and they require some mathematical calculation. So we arrived at figures using some mathematical formulas. We can use standard deviation. We can use the central tendency methods. We can use correlation and regression and various other mathematical techniques. So when we talk about secondary data collection, that means the data is second-hand. It is not collected by the individual who is analyzing the data. So the original user is not the one who is actually taking the decision. It is the process of collecting data that is already existing. Be it already appears in some books or journals or some online portals. So it is less expensive because the analyst has not spent too much on collection of data. So it is easy to find the data which is already existing and use the data. Now the question comes, what is the choice? Like when to use the primary data and when to use the secondary data? It all depends upon the nature, scope and area of your findings as well as the objectives. So analyst can find out for what he or she is to use the primary data and for what other reasons he or she is going to use the secondary data. Now coming to data collection tools. Data collection tools are the devices or instruments that are used to collect data. So we can use the method of interviews, observations, surveys or questionnaires. It is important to decide for the tools because the search is carried out in different ways for different purposes. So the purpose and the aim, like for which we are collecting the data, this should be well known in advance. The objective behind data collection is to capture the quality evidence that allows analysts to lead to the formulation of convincing and credible answers. So one can easily get the data using some online questionnaires, focus groups, reporting, online, offline, various methods are there. The very first and very important is the method of interview. Interview is face-to-face conversation between two individuals with the sole purpose of collecting relevant information. So the interview can be of three types. It can be structured, semi-structured, and unstructured. So there are little variations between these three. Structured interviews are basically at the surface level and is usually completed within a short period. It has good speed and efficiency. It is highly recommendable. The questions are standard. The order is standard, and we have to follow those questions and those order and to get the answers. Semi-structured is there may exist several key questions which cover the scope of the area, but we can explore the subject matter. We can go to some details depending upon the answer. And unstructured interviews are basically the in-depth interviews that allow the researcher to collect a wide range of information. So it gives the analyst freedom to ask the questions, and it gives the freedom to the interviewee as well to give the answers. And then the researcher combines the structure with flexibility to come to certain conclusions. It is very, very time consuming, but it gives the in-depth study. So the merits, in-depth information, freedom of flexibility, and accurate data getting. And the demerits are it is time consuming and it is expensive to collect the data and it is face to face. So when more persons, when you are interviewing more persons, that means more time, more expensive, but the results are better because we can get in-depth information from interviews. Now coming to the data collection tools for interviews, so we can use audio recorder for recording the sound. We can use digital camera for getting the images. We can use camcorders. That is the combination of audio and video. So the pictures can also be there. The sounds can also be there. Now coming to the second tool, that is questionnaire. It is the process of collecting data through the instrument consisting of a series of questions, and these prompt the respondent to give response. So we can give the questionnaires to the persons from whom we are collecting the data, and the persons may in return give back those questionnaires, and the analyst can find out what the answers are. So we can use a term survey also for this. Survey is a bigger term. It is a process of data gathering involving variety of data collection methods. So survey is a bigger term, and the questionnaire is comparatively a smaller term. So on a questionnaire, there can be three kinds of questions: fixed, alternative, scale, and open-ended. We can frame the questions as per the nature and scope of the research. So the questionnaires can be given to large number of people. It is cost effective. We can either give the printouts or we can give the link. We can request them to fill the Google form and we can obtain the answers. So it is used to compare and contrast previous research to measure the changes in case we want to see what the previous level was and how much we are now we have reached to the next level. It is easy to visualize and analyze. We can take action. We can take actions on the data we have got. And the respondent identity is protected. The respondent, in case they do not want to reveal their identity, they are free to do that. So questionnaires can cover all topics and they are relatively inexpensive because we are giving some hundreds, some thousands of questionnaires to people, and then we are waiting for the responses, and then we can get the responses through online or offline methods. The demerits are some answers may be dishonest and the respondents lose interest midway. So some may return the questionnaire, some may not. The questionnaires cannot produce the qualitative data. Some questions may be left unanswered, so we cannot get that data. For the questions which are left unanswered, the persons have not answered those questions, and not all the questions can be analyzed easily because problems do come. Now, what are the different data collection tools for questionnaires? We can use some paper questionnaires or some online questionnaires. So online or offline, both the methods can be used for getting the responses.